we are gathered once again in our respective places to worship. This is Sunday morning, the Lord's Day. So it is still important for us to remember that, to remember to whom we belong, and the fact that our God is still with us, though we are separated by distance. Announcement-wise, I just want to remind you, at least for now, for next week, we will still be worshiping in this same way. You'll have to keep tabs on the church's websites and on Facebook to see when we might be able to change that. But next Sunday morning, we will worship from Springvale United Methodist Church, and you can join us once again at 10 o'clock. We would welcome you. Also remember some of the things we're able to continue, and one of them is next Saturday. We are still doing the chicken barbecue, which we hope will support the missions trip for the summer. That will be from 11 until 2 is when you can come and get your chicken dinner. It is drive-through. That is, you don't have to get out of your car. So we're trying to make that as socially distancing as possible. So again, 11 to 2 next Saturday. Especially those who might be involved in the missions trip, if you are able to come and help, you could let Alice, Alyssa, or Teresa know when you could be here, because still some more hands on deck would be helpful. As we begin to worship today, I just invite you to bow with me for a few moments. Thank you, Father, for the magnificence of your nature. We thank you for the beauty of springtime. Even in the face of this quarantine, you are bringing new beauty all around us, and for that, we are grateful. We thank you for the inner promptings of your Spirit in our lives. Help us to listen to the proddings of your direction. We thank you for people whose lives illustrate your word, those people all around us who show us your love. We thank you for the churches to which we belong, for those who help us, intercede for us, support us, love us, inspire us. Lord, we know that we cannot live as Christians without them, for we need that part of yourself that you have placed in them. But we also know that they cannot live without us, because each one of us brings some gifts that you have deposited in us. Lord, help us to think first of those things which benefit others before we begin listing our own needs. May we live in such a way that we draw attention not to ourselves, but to you. Amen. Now I want you to listen. God is going to play a great hymn, The Church is One Foundation. Thank you, darling. The church's one foundation is Jesus Christ her Lord. She is his new creation by water and the word. From heaven he came and sought her to be his holy bride. With his own blood he bought her, and for her life he died. Mid toil and tribulation and tumult of her war, she waits the consummation of peace forevermore. Till with the vision glorious her longing eyes are blessed, and that great church victorious shall be the church at rest. Obviously, in my life's work, I have believed in the church, and now, in these days, I still believe in the church. I want to share with you some words by Daniel Pauling. And this is what he wrote. I should be part of the church because I ought to be better than I am. Henry Ward Beecher once said, the church is not a gallery for the exhibition of eminent Christians, but a school for the education of imperfect ones. I should be part of the church because of what I can give to it and do through it, as well as because of what I may get out of it. The church is not a dormitory for sleepers. It is an institution of workers. It is not only a rest camp, it is a frontline trench. I should be part of the church because every person should pay his debts and do their share towards discharging the obligation of society. Not only has the church been the bearer of the good news of personal salvation, it has been and is the supreme uplifting and conserving agency, without which civilization would lapse into barbarism and press its way to perdition. I should be part of the church because of memories. Memories of things I can never forget. Memories of faces that will never fade. Memories of vows that are the glory of youth. I should be part of the church because of hope. Hope that lives when promises are dead. Hope that paves the way for progress. Hope that visions peace and social justice. Hope for all time to come. Hope for eternity. The great hope that casts its anchor behind Jesus Christ. I should be part of the church because of the strong people in it who need reinforcing, the weak people in it who need encouraging, the rascals in it who need rebuking. If I say that I am not good enough, my humility recommends me. If I sit in the seat of the scornful, my inactivity condemns me. I should be part of the church, but not until I am ready to join a going concern, not until I am willing to become an active partner with Jesus Christ. In the Sundays where we worship together, this is about the time in our worshiping that we would pass the peace. Well, we're not able to do that exactly, but we're trying something today. Virtual passing of the peace. We are asking you to send some very short clips, no more than 10 seconds, either by text message or email to the church office, and we will try to put them into this format. Don't know how rough this is going to be today, but hear and see these greetings from some of the people of your congregations.
To all my church family, I want to thank you. I love you, and may God richly bless and keep you. Bye.
Hi, folks. So glad we could get together to communicate to you that we miss you, and we sure look forward to the time that we'll be together to worship in Springvale and Stonepile churches. Love you all.
Hello, everybody. Greetings from the Wolf family.
Hope this finds everybody doing well.
Take care and hope to see you real soon in church.
Miss everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody.
We miss you.
Hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. It's the Brentons. We miss seeing everybody on Sunday, and we can't wait to get back together. Anyways.
Hey, church family.
We miss you.
From the Palmieres.
It's always nice to see faces, hear greetings. We know that we all miss being together. And in time, we will be together once again. But for now, we're glad you joined us in this format. During this time, we are constantly reminded of the fact that evil and good exists in our world. Frankly, lately, I've been getting some disturbing emails. It's an email that, there's a lot of wrong spelling in it. And it's an email that knows one of the passwords I used to use. And it's an email that's threatening me that unless I send some Bitcoin, they are going to make known some embarrassing details of my life. And if I want to be sure those embarrassing details never come to light, then I need to make those contributions. It troubles me that someone would spend their time trying to find ways to extort money from others. We see the same thing in this whole COVID-19 crisis that we're dealing with. We see the fact that there are some people trying to take advantage of that situation, sending threats or emails to people that just shouldn't be. I don't understand how people can do those things and live with themselves. I know that there is evil that exists in our world. But darn it, I know that there's good that exists too. I know that in this COVID-19 crisis, there have been people going out of their way to make life better for someone else. I guess my challenge to you this morning is, which side of that life are you going to be on? Are you going to be on the side that tries to take advantage? Or are you going to be on the side that tries to do that which is good? You see, I know that faithfulness and unfaithfulness happen in all aspects of life. I know it happens in friendships. Remember Jesus and Judas? They were friends. Judas was one of the followers of Jesus, chosen by Jesus to be a part of that select group. That meant that Jesus saw something important in Judas. But Judas agreed to betray Jesus and led that large crowd with swords and clubs. And when they got to where Jesus was, remember what Jesus said to Judas? Friend, do what you came for. I don't know why Judas would betray his friend as he did. For the money? Possibly. Was he bitter and disappointed that Jesus was maybe not the type of Messiah that Judas and some others maybe were expecting? Maybe Judas felt like an outsider in the group. Did you know that Judas was the only Judean among the 12? The rest were all Galileans? Or was Judas trying to push Jesus into starting the revolt that many Jewish people wanted Jesus to begin? And when Jesus accepted his arresting, Judas felt guilty and went out and hanged himself. All those are possible. All I know is that sometimes unfaithfulness happens in friendships. Sometimes we're not the friend to one another that we should be. But sometimes we are. The Old Testament has the wonderful story of David and Jonathan and the friendship that they shared. Remember, Jonathan's father was Saul, the king. And Saul had grown jealous of David's popularity. So Saul told all his officials that he was going to see that David was killed. But Jonathan loved David, talked Saul out of that threat for a time. And then David and Jonathan worked out a plan. David would go out into the fields, and Jonathan would get the feeling of how Saul was reacting on a given day. And then Jonathan would go out and shoot 3 arrows. If those arrows fell short of where David was, that meant that Saul was in a good mood. It was okay for David to come in. But if those arrows went beyond where David was, that meant danger. In doing this protection of David, Jonathan basically handed the crown over to David. But you know what 1 Samuel 18:1 says? After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. Friendship. Sometimes people are faithful to it. There was a man in the major leagues named Pee Wee Reese. He played for the Brooklyn Dodgers at the time when Jackie Robinson broke in and broke that color barrier in the major leagues. There was a movie about that not too long ago. And in that movie, there was a scene which happened in Cincinnati, Ohio on May 13th, 1947. Branch Rickey was looking for a star player in the Negro Leagues, a man who could take abuse without losing his cool. Mr. Rickey said to Jackie Robinson, "I want a man with courage not to fight back." Jackie Robinson answered, "If you take this gamble, I will do my best to perform." The road was not an easy one. A lot of name-calling, a lot of threats upon his life. When the team was on the road, Jackie Robinson would sometimes have to stay by himself because only white players were allowed in some hotels. It was a hard thing. And it all came to fruition on that May 13th date. Years ago, my son gave me this little book. It's a story about that happening. And I want to read just a short section of it. When his Southern teammates circulated a petition to throw Jackie off the team and asked Pee Wee Reese to sign it, Pee Wee responded, "I don't care if this man is black, blue, or striped. He can play, and he can help us win. That's what counts." And he refused to sign. Very early in the season, the Dodgers traveled west to Ohio to play the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati is near Pee Wee's hometown of Louisville. And the Reds played in a very small ballpark where the fans sat close to the field. The players could almost feel the breath of the fans on the backs of their necks. Many who came that day screamed terrible, hateful things at Jackie Robinson when the Dodgers were on the field. More than anything else, Pee Wee Reese believed in doing what was right. And when he heard the fans yelling at Jackie, Pee Wee decided to take a stand. With his head high, Pee Wee walked directly from his shortstop position to where Jackie was playing first base. The taunts and shouting of the fans were ringing in Pee Wee's ears. It saddened him because he knew that it could have been his friends and neighbors. Pee Wee's legs felt heavy, but he knew what he had to do. As he walked toward Jackie wearing the gray Dodger uniform, he looked into his teammates' pained eyes. The first baseman had done nothing to provoke the hostility except that he sought to be treated as an equal. Jackie was grim with anger, but Pee Wee smiled broadly as he reached Jackie. Jackie smiled back. Stopping beside Jackie, Pee Wee put his arm around Jackie's shoulders. An audible gasp rose up from the crowd when they saw what Pee Wee had done. Then there was silence. Outlined on a sea of green grass stood these two great athletes, one black, one white, both wearing the same team uniform. I am standing by him, Pee Wee said to the world. This man is my teammate. My point is, in this world, sometimes in friendships, there is unfaithfulness or infidelity, but sometimes there is faithfulness as well. And for that, we rejoice. And I want to tell you that faithfulness and unfaithfulness also happens in our relationship with God. Unfaithfulness happens sometimes because we are spiritually blind. That's what 1 Corinthians, that's what Paul wrote there. The man without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him, and he cannot understand them because they are spiritually discerned. Or sometimes people are unfaithful to God because they are not willing to live up to the commitment. John 3 says, this is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but men love darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light, for his deeds will be exposed. Yeah, I know. Sometimes people are unfaithful to God in their relationship with him. But I also know that sometimes people are faithful to God. The Bible tells us that story of Job. You remember it. The book of Job in the Old Testament tells us of a rich man who lost everything he had. Family, his wealth, eventually his own health. And his wife was the only one left with him. And his wife said to him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. But Job replied, you are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. He remained faithful. It is a decision of life to be faithful to God or not. In my years in the ministry, I have known many people in the churches I have served who have made that decision to be faithful. I was pastoring in an area that held funerals differently than they do mostly in the York area. In that area, at that time, you would have an evening of viewing. The next day, you would have an afternoon and evening of viewing. And then the next day, you would have the funeral. It was a long time for a family to sit in a funeral home. But in one of those men, I sat with him for most of that time after his wife died. And I sat there as he gave strength to all of the people who came through that line. He was faithful to his God. I have had people who have suffered from cancers. I had one man in particular who loved to talk, but he lost his voice box to his cancer. So he eventually had to just write notes to you. But he remained faithful through that whole ordeal. Over and over again, I saw people standing faithful to God. I would like you all now, wherever you're watching from, to think of someone in your life who has been faithful to God. And their faithfulness has had an impact upon you. You see, it is a decision of life to be faithful. It has been a decision of my life to be as faithful as I possibly can be to my God. I hope that it is a decision of your life as well. In times such as these, in these times we are experiencing now, to continue to be faithful. We'd like to close our moments together with words from a hymn. It's the hymn, "I Would Be True." It was one of my mom's favorite hymns. The last years of her life, my mother did not do well mentally. There were times when I would first go to see her, it seemed she wasn't sure who I was, but eventually she would remember. But I will also always remember that when I went into the home where she was, they often, it was actually a Presbyterian home, they would often have in the common area hymns playing on a CD player. And my mom would be sitting there singing along. She wouldn't always remember who I was, but she remembered the words to the hymns. "I Would Be True" was one of her favorites. It was written by Howard Walter. He was a congregational minister who was teaching English at a university in Japan. And he sent his mother this poem. He called it "My Creed." And in the poem, he was expressing the feelings that motivated him as a Christian. "I would be true, for there are those who trust me." His mother liked his poem very much, sent it to Harper's Bazaar, who published it in 1907. These are the words. "I would be true, for there are those who trust me. I would be pure, for there are those who care. I would be strong, for there is much to suffer. I would be brave, for there is much to dare. I would be friend of all the friendless. I would be giving and forget the gift. I would be humble, for I know my weakness. I would look up and laugh and love and lift. I would be faithful through each passing moment. I would be constantly in touch with God. I would be strong to follow where he leads me. I would have faith to keep the path Christ trod." So as we end, may you think of those in your life who have been faithful to God and who have been a help to you. Maybe you could even write them a note today. Send them a text or email today so they know that they have mattered to you. What a help that might be to them in these difficult times. May the Lord bless you.